Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahushai, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahushai, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bahashem, Kakwadash, the belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there. You Akim to Sadakim that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. On the Pre-Shimon, this week's topic is going to be entitled Death of America's Free Markets, Gamestop and AMC. Certain brothers might not be familiar with what just happened, but heard about it, right? The fact that, all right, in a free market society, you know, and the idea of capitalism here in America is if I make right decisions, right financial decisions, I should be able to gain from those financial decisions, right? Now, what happened in the stock market, and I'm going to say how this relates to prophecy, is pretty much you had a Melvin Capital, which is a hedge fund. They manage money for billionaires. They went short a company, that company being GameStop, right? The brick and mortar location. What do I mean they went short? In layman's term, they were betting that this company would go bankrupt and they could profit from it. How so? Well, let's say you have a gold watch, right? And that gold watch is worth, I don't know, $1,000, right? But for some strange reason, you got some sort of information that gold is going to be worth $5 tomorrow. Nobody knows that but you. You would then borrow as much gold as you can, right? At the current price of $1,000. You'd borrow a whole bunch of gold watches for $1,000 because you know tomorrow is going to be worth $1. So you would borrow as much gold watches as you can. Say, yo, let me borrow your gold watch. I'll pay you back tomorrow. I'll pay you back tomorrow. And the next day, gold is worth $1. So you borrowed these watches and you loaned them out, right, to other people for $1,000, and tomorrow it's worth $1. Now you could buy back all those gold watches for $1, and the people you loaned those gold watches to, you just made $1,000 off that profit. So that's what they were doing, and pretty much they went short this stock, or they bet it so much that they betted, meaning, let's say 100% you bet that it's going to go down. They went 120%. They all started to gang up and bet that this particular stock will fall. And GameStop fell to a $200 million company. And it was at that point where people said, wait a minute. If enough people go long, they would have to cover. Now, let's go back to that scenario with the gold watch. If I borrowed that gold watch, right? I said, look, let me borrow this gold watch for $1,000. I'll pay you back your $1,000 tomorrow. What if you wake up the next day and all of a sudden that gold watch is worth $2,000? Now I got to pay you back the $1,000 I borrowed on top of the $1,000 that it's worth now. So I'd lose big. Now let's say this. What if you borrowed that watch for $1,000 and tomorrow it's worth $20,000? And that's what happened with GameStop. These billionaires, including the owner of the Mets, were lending each other money to try to bail each other out, but this particular stock kept going up, and the retail investor was benefiting, and it was a bit of a billionaire manipulation there, because GameStop went from a $200 million company to yesterday it was worth $12 billion. So as much as the retailer think he's in control, there was hidden hands going on there. There was battle structure between the elites trying to attack each other. The Mossad sent the Egyptians against the Egyptians, if you will. And a lot of people, not just GameStop, but stocks like AMC, Nokia, certain different penny stocks where a lot of people were making a shit ton of money. They bet right, and the people that were going short these particular companies, the hedge funds, were losing on the trade. People woke up today and were told in Robinhood and different trading platforms that you cannot buy this stock, you can only sell it, which forces the stock to go down. And who's buying those stocks? The people that went short the position. So in a free capitalism society, as America claims to be, those hedge funds, when they shorted that stock at 40 and it went up to 80, they couldn't just admit defeat. They ganged up and increased their short position, but it kept going up. What they call a short squeeze, it kept going up and up and up. You had to pay more and more money to try to get out this trade. And they couldn't take it. So the billionaires, the powers that be, forced you to sell and forced the average person to sell. The government could have intervened and said, look, this is illegal. You can't force people to sell their shit. But they didn't. So, just like they forced people to shut down their businesses, even they wanted to open, they followed all the restrictions, they forced them to close their businesses. With the COVID hoax, right? They're also forcing people to do what they want to do with their money. Now, what does the scripture say about the mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip? You cannot buy and you cannot sell unless you have the mark dictating how you can trade commerce. What do we saw today? You cannot buy what we want you to buy. You could sell what we have to sell. They told people what they had to do. So America is not a free capitalist society. The scripture also goes on to say that what? He calls it all, both rich and poor. There's no middle. And that's what this whole thing has been doing since the start of February, since the pandemic, is wiping out the middle class investor. Because guess what? You have people that put their life savings in this particular companies, and they didn't do anything wrong. They said, shit, if this stock goes up, it's going to keep going up because these billionaires have to cover it, right? So that's fair enough, right? But they deemed that manipulation. Yet forcing people to sell is not manipulation. So this is the double standards of this man, and people are realizing, if you didn't know, that this man's a devil and to never trust his ass, and this is his system. So they just forced a lot of people from February to now to go from middle class wealthy, or those people approaching the middle class, to implementing different measures to just create rich and poor. And when you have that, that is called a third world country. And that's what America is going towards, man. Biden increasing the taxes if you make $400K or more. Billionaires devouring each other. So you thought it would stop at millionaires. No, they even trying to wipe out billionaires. They just want a few billionaires running this thing. And really trillionaires. Because you can't pull that stunt with something like, let's say, a company that a Rothschild is owning or Oppenheimer is owning. Because money talks and bullshit walks. And the Mosai, at this point, have this wealth transfer continuing from the poor to the rich to the upper rich to the greater rich. Which prophecies are taking place right now. Man, I couldn't stop thinking about what the scriptures say about the mark of the beast, man, because they literally told people what they could buy and sell. And it's going to be the same thing when this chip thing gets implemented and comes to pass. That was a quick to the point. Well, guess what? There's no GMS to the point anymore. But we could still do to the point shows. They wiping out the shows. They wiping out so-called freedom of speech. They controlling elections. They controlling every goddamn thing. They controlling markets. Was that 1984 George Orwell type shit? This is what we're living in. This is what we've been prophesying about. You know? So, hey, that was an epic day today. I thought that whole situation right there, and it's all scriptural. Just because like how they forced those businesses to close, the scripture says the grinding shall cease. All right? Now they forcing people to either be rich or poor. Even if you're making free capital decisions, all right? And now the protest should be this, right? People should be protesting in the streets. If you are dictating my capital, then why should I pay capital gains tax? You know? Why should you pay capital gains tax? Why should you pay tax on the capital you made in free market decisions if they dictate what you could do in a quote unquote free capital system? Let's see if people take to the streets. Let's see if something happens about this situation that happened today. You're not really seeing much of it. CNBC is dying it down. They talking about it, but they trying to play it down because they have vested interest with these short sellers. All right. See, when the big guy does something illegal, all right, so-called a white-collar crime, you're not gonna hear about it. It's not gonna be deemed illegal. But the average Joe, he does what they call crime, and they could get like 20 years. You know, you could have billionaires do a white-collar crime, get 6 months. You could have a Jake on the corner get knocked for selling weed, which they deemed essential during the pandemic, and face 20 years. That's America for you. Hey, Deuteronomy 28 chapter, this is a cursed land. Okay, you're gonna go to the enemy for one of all things. You know, you're gonna plant, but they're gonna reap. But ultimately, guess what? The reaper, the sower shall overtake the reaper. All right, and the last shall be first, man. Hey, so with that little situation concerning that, you know, I wanted to speak on it. You know, I deal with finances, and I was like, man, this is epic, man. There's some prophetic stuff going on here. Hey, with that, look, I'm gonna give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, Ba'ashim Kakodash, that belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, which you well. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there. You Akim to Zdakim that do the singing that most truth and sincerity. Hey, Shalom Akim. We're at the end. We almost out this bitch. Stay strong, man. Isaiah 33:6. Wisdom and knowledge shall keep us stable in these times. Shalom, brothers.